Om Prapannaparijataya Totravetraikapaniye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritaduhe Namaha. Rams everyone. We are in the 6th chapter. We are doing some vichara on Dhyana. So far we had seen what Dhyana is meant for and what Dhyana is not meant for. We also saw what are the other side benefits that Dhyana can give, but which we should not be focusing ourselves upon. We also saw Dhyana can be divided into two. One is Upasana and the Nidhidhyāsana. Upasana is a type of Dhyana that is performed before Jnana. This is required for qualifying ourselves to receive Jnana. And then Nidhidhyāsana is a type of Dhyana that is performed after Jnana. This is to ensure that we are firmly established in Jnana. So, and then the Upasana Dhyana itself, we saw that as 4 types or 4 steps to it: concentration, expansion. First one was relaxation, concentration, expansion, and value meditation. In the last class we did a vichara on Nidhidhyāsana. Now we will try to understand the difference, or in what way Upasana and Nidhidhyāsana, in what way they are different and what are the things that are in common. See, in Nidhidhyāsana, which is also a Dhyana, the object of Dhyana that is for Nidhidhyāsana is different from the object of Dhyana for Upasana. In Upasana, we would be meditating upon Saguna Brahman. When we say Saguna Brahman, it's nothing but Ishvara. Ishvara with name and form. Or in other words, Brahman with name and Brahman plus Maya. Brahman plus Maya Tattva is equal to Ishvara. And Ishvara with name and form. So we could probably be meditating upon Ishvara, or we could be meditating upon a Guru or Ishta Devata, or Samashti itself. In the case of expansion meditation, we would be meditating upon the Samashti itself. So the object of meditation of Upasana, it could be any of these things. But in the case of Nidhidhyāsana, the object of Dhyana is not Saguna Brahman, it is knowledge itself. Then when we meditate upon, sit and meditate upon, we will have to meditate upon something like the whole world is mithya. Brahman is the truth. I am that Brahman. Or the 5 features of consciousness, we have those 5 features of I am. Consciousness is not part, product or property of the body. Consciousness is the one which enlivens this body. Consciousness is beyond the boundaries of the body. And we'll have to own up to that. I am that consciousness. I am neither part of this body. I am neither product of this body. I am not a property of the body. I just enliven this body and mind. I am not the body and the mind. And I exist beyond the boundaries of this body. That kind of thought, the knowledge itself has to be meditated upon. And therefore, unless we have the knowledge, we will not be able to meditate properly. We will not be able to do Nidhidhyāsana correctly. So Nidhidhyāsana cannot be done before Atma-jnana. If somebody tries to do Nidhidhyāsana before Atma-jnana, it will end up as Upasana. It will not end up as Nidhidhyāsana. And Nidhidhyāsana has to be, once we get the jnana also, Nidhidhyāsana must be practiced for a considerable period of time. Especially in the early phase, in the sense once we've received knowledge, immediately afterwards, if we do not do Nidhidhyāsana, this knowledge will be lost. That's why if you really, if you had heard about Ramana Maharishi's story, Ramana Maharishi, when he had this out of body experience, death experience, near death experience, he had got that jnana. Then what he did, he immediately went to Tiruvannamalai and basically went into a caves and started meditating for many months. He was not known to the people at that point of time at all, until he has been able to establish himself in that knowledge. So this is one point that we have to be clear. The object of meditation between Dhyana and Nidhidhyāsana, or Upasana and Nidhidhyāsana. There are other differences also. Both are Dhyana, no doubt, but they are not the same, as in between Upasana and Nidhidhyāsana. One is the discipline. When it comes to Upasana, it has some strict rules. Bhagavan will later on in the Slokas will say also, there must be as much as possible, there must be a fixed time, there must be a fixed place, there has to be a posture. There are other disciplines that we have to follow in terms of Upasana. In Nidhidhyāsana, if you follow these rules, it would be better, but these are optional. They are not mandatory. You will still be able to do Nidhidhyāsana just in sitting in a chair or lying down. You just bring that knowledge back into your thoughts. You are still doing Nidhidhyāsana. So the first one is discipline with regards to the vidhi. There is a difference. Object of dhyana we have seen, that is also another difference. So two we have seen. The third one is the status of the sadhaka. Upasaka, when we say upasaka, he is the one who does upasana. Now this upasaka is a atma ajnani, whereas in the nidhidhyasaka, as in the sadhaka who does the nidhidhyasana, he is an atma jnani. So as I said, upasana is before jnana, nidhidhyasana is after jnana. But from outside, when somebody is doing some dhyana, we will not be able to guess whether that person is an upasaka or a nidhidhyasaka. Even a jnani may have certain habits, certain behavioral patterns. It's not that all jnanis will fit into only one kind of character, one kind of behavior, and therefore if this jnani exhibits these behaviors, all jnanis must exhibit the same behavior. It is not true. And therefore, for a person who is outside, that person will not be able to identify or differentiate between who is an upasaka or who is a nidhidhyasaka. And even if a jnani exhibits certain the habits or behavioral patterns, it does not automatically mean that he has ajnana. Certain jnanis may have, even after getting jnana, there may be some viparita bhavanas. So even when they are jnani, they will exhibit certain viparita bhavanas which they would try to remove it through nidhidhyasana. So when they do this dhyana, we may not say, okay, he's exhibiting viparita bhavanas, he's exhibiting certain things that are not supposed to, that I don't expect a jnani to exhibit, and therefore he is not a jnani, he must be an upasaka. If we sort of judge it that way, it will be our problem. I mean, it's our mistake. So it's better not to judge anybody. The whole purpose of this Vedanta is for only reflecting upon ourselves. To reflect where we are, how we are, and how we have to improve, where we must go to. So, Nidhidhyāsana, Vidhi, there is a difference. Object of Dhyana, there is a difference. The status of the Dhyana sadhaka, there is a difference. Finally, the benefit. Upasana, it gives two types of benefit. The main benefit is adhikaritva. That is to qualify ourselves for jnana. And how do we get this adhikaritvam? When we do nishkama sankalpa. Nishkama sankalpa means no desire, with no particular desire. If at all there is any desire, it will be only for chitta shuddhi, and therefore when you do this dhyana, you will get adhikaritvam. But meditation or dhyana by itself is also capable of laukika aishwaryam. You say, what are the laukika aishwaryams? Mental calmness, clarity. So if you continuously do meditation over a period of time, there will be enormous clarity in the way we think, analyze, decide. There will be a lot more mental calmness. And if we are really very serious and if we do intense dhyana, a person could get also the siddhis, ashtama siddhis. So upasana gives adhikaritvam as well as laukika aishwaryam. It's capable of giving both. Whereas Nidhidhyāsana, it has only one result. Only for one thing you do Nidhidhyāsana, and that is for jnana nishta, jivan mukti, to be established in that jnana. And therefore, in Nidhidhyāsana, we can say there is no sakama Nidhidhyāsana. I cannot say that I desire something and therefore I am doing Nidhidhyāsana. Nidhidhyāsana does not have any sankalpa in it. So there is no division between sakama and nishkama. If at all we have to classify it as either sakama or nishkama, it is only nishkama. There is no sakama Nidhidhyāsana. So these are the four differences we have to understand between upasana and Nidhidhyāsana. And in this chapter, Bhagavan is mainly talking about Nidhidhyāsana Swarupa Dhyana. But he will also talk about disciplines to be followed, which if we follow, it is good, better for Nidhidhyāsana, but it is must for upasana. Why both are the disciplines are same? Because in both these types of dhyana, the instrument that we are going to use is the same, the mind. And the mind has to cross certain hurdles, and therefore the disciplines that need to be followed are also quite similar. Now, we will see how this dhyana that we have discussed so far, what is the connection, what we have discussed so far to Patanjali's Aṣṭāṅga Yoga. So before we get into chapter 6, the Slokas, we will try to understand Patanjali's his framework of Aṣṭāṅga Yoga. See, mind is a very subtle instrument. It always generates thoughts, and to actually get in control of the mind, we will have to use intellect to generate another set of thoughts, sometimes against what the thought is currently coming out with, to subdue the mind, to control the mind, to calm the mind, to relax the mind. And it is not easy. To calm the mind is not easy. It is not possible just like that. It requires practice. There is a misconception that people think, oh, go for meditation, which means what? You go, sit, close your eyes, come to Padmasana or Sukhasana, close your eyes, and then people think that the mind will be quieten automatically. You close your eyes, you sit in a calm place, you don't talk anywhere, you don't look outside, and by just sitting and doing, you are doing meditation. Because you think, or the person thinks, that they have been able to quieten the mind. That will not work. The mind will not listen to us easily. If we start closing our eyes and start looking into our mind, we will see a lot of thoughts come up. When the mind need not actually focus on any physical activity, when the mind is idle, you will see the thoughts coming up out of our mind. If only we realize, we will see what sort of thoughts are coming out. So this could be when we are showering, or when we are about to go to bed, when we have switched off everything, no physical activity, but we are awake, then the thought starts coming through. So these are the same thoughts that will come even when we sit for meditation. So therefore, Patanjali, what he has done, he has given a very systematic method. So he does not start with Dhyana at all. He gives a set of preparatory steps that are to be followed before one becomes eligible for the sadhana, which is called as Dhyana. So the entire method that Patanjali has devised is called as Aṣṭāṅga Yoga, or 8-limbed yoga. And Patanjali gives a step-by-step way to progress. And how does it progress? It progresses from the stula to sukshma, from the gross to the subtle, until we reach that stage of complete mental quietude. So the 8 steps are well known, right? Yama Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. If you see, Dhyana comes in the 7th step. So he says, do not even attempt to meditate until you do the first 6 steps. And within these first 6 steps, the first 2 steps, they are not even about Dhyana. It's not even about Dhyana, it's all about activities. The first 2 steps are Yama and Niyama. And it is mainly for the body, our activities, our behavior. It is to actually regulate and discipline our activities and behavior. So what he says is, before you can quieten the mind, discipline the activities and behavior. And why so? If our activities are not regulated or disciplined, body cannot be controlled. We cannot control the body. If we cannot control the body, we cannot control the senses. And if we cannot control the senses, we cannot control the mind. So the gross body and our behavior, that must be disciplined first. This is not just for yogic principle, it's also the Vedantic principle. If you look at it, the Vedantic principle, we had gone through chapter 13 and chapter 16, those those values and the Devi Sampat. Unless we do that, we will not be able to get the Jnana. So here in Patanjali's case, he gives Yama. Yama as the first step. Yama means don'ts, things that need to be avoided. And Patanjali lists 5 of them, 5 things that must be avoided. And instead of saying what not to do, it is often easier to understand if we turn around and say it in a positive, as a positive outcome, say what we must follow. We will try to see what the terms are, then we'll see how we can actually do that. The first one is actually not only, it says Ahimsā, avoid Hiṁsā. That is the first Yama. And this is not accidental, because whether you are doing yoga or Vedanta, or even if you want to go deeper into Shastra, or if you want to take sannyasa, the first sadhana, the sadhana that starts, the first sadhana that is given to a person is Ahimsā. In the case of sannyasa, it's Ahimsā paramo dharma, they will say. It's the most important sadhana. They must begin with Ahimsā and end with Ahimsā. So what if we are seeking moksha or simple mental calmness? If we want to have calm mind, Ahimsā is compulsory. Why? Because the law of the world is very simple. You reap what you sow. Murpagal seyyin, pirpagal vilayum. If we give Hiṁsā to others, the mind cannot remain calm also. Not only that, it will come back to us also. It will not come back the next day or through that same person, but it will come back. And we give Hiṁsā in 3 ways, either through body, through speech, or through mind. Body and speech is very easy. We know how it is done. How is it through mind? If we constantly think ill of others, if we harbor any kind of resentment in our mind, if there is some kind of a contempt for people, if there is some jealousy in our mind, that itself is called as Hiṁsā according to our Shastra. That is the Manasa Hiṁsā. So this Manasa Hiṁsā need not, the other person may not even know that, what we have in our mind. But that is considered as Hiṁsā, that is considered as Papa, that will also come back to us. So Ahimsā means it is not just about physical violence. When we say Ahimsā, and then one thing we have to understand, giving punishment is not same as giving Hiṁsā. So these two are different. For example, a police officer, if he punishes a criminal or whatever, he can still claim that he is following Ahimsā, because in other circumstances he is not harming anybody. Punishment which is done as part of dharma, swadharma, or their duty, which means they have got a responsibility, they have got a mandate to do that, that is different. So when it is called as Hiṁsā, then Hiṁsā is when harm is done due to hatred, dislike, carelessness, ego, then that is called as Hiṁsā. Another form of Hiṁsā is taking pleasure in another person's suffering. If we take pleasure with another person in seeing another person suffer, that is also called Hiṁsā. And only human beings have this tendency. If you really look at it, animals do not take any pleasure, or no animal tortures another for the sake of entertainment. Only we human beings, we do this. We hurt others either due to our boredom or to show power, or just to gain some few laughs for the sake of pleasure. And some people even take pleasure in hearing about others' suffering. Some people call up to understand how you are suffering, only to take that, get some pleasure out of it. And some people, console others, not out of compassion, but to secretly feel superior, that I am better off than you, kind of thing. All these tendencies come under Hiṁsā. So Hiṁsā means not just physical violence, not just speech, even this attitude, the thought, the vrittis, they are also considered Hiṁsā. So the first step, if we want our Dhyana to materialize, if we want our Dhyana to succeed, if we want our meditation to be successful, the first thing we have to do is to move away from all these tendencies. And there is no point in saying, how can the other person be like that? Can I not be like that? Why should I be like that? That is not the way to go. It is never about others. It's only about us. So the first step of yoga, the first step is Yama. And within Yama, the first item is Ahimsā. So that itself tells the importance of Ahimsā. This is the first Yama. The second one is Satyam. Satyam means truthfulness. So again, it is Yama, which means don't. So what is the don't here? Avoid speaking lies. Satyam means not being truthful. Satyam means avoid speaking lies. Again, here is important. It is not necessary that whatever is true must be spoken. Our Shastras never say that. Even Tirukkural doesn't say that. But what it says is, whatever that is spoken must be true. You need not say all the truth, but whatever you say must be true. Some people, they justify their harsh speech by saying, I speak only the truth. I am very straightforward. I don't keep anything inside. But all they have done is not speaking truth. Their idea is to actually hurt the other person. The intention is to hurt. It's not to speak the truth. So that is not Satyam. That is lack of sensitivity. So in certain situations, truth can be hidden, and hiding truth is not equal to lying. And when can a truth be hidden? This is given by Shastras. When the other person is not ready to receive it, or when revealing it causes unnecessary harm to others. It's not for selfish reasons. And thirdly, if you are withholding it, it can lead to a greater good. So the caveat is, it should not be done for selfish reasons, and it should not be done to cheat another person. Suppose, say for example, somebody speaks ill of, say A speaks ill of B to us. B asks us, did A speak ill of me? Or what did A say? You can say all other things that A said to you without bringing the topic of whatever A said about B. You can simply hide it. You need not carry it. Why you are doing it? because it will cause unnecessary harm. It will only create more animosity, more problems, and the other person will not be able to receive it. Withholding it can lead to a greater good. It is not to cheat any person, and it is not for selfish reasons. So Satyam means avoid speaking lies. Now the question is, what is the relationship between Satyam and Dhyana? See, if we have been lying throughout the day and then we come and sit for Dhyana, Dhyana will not fructify. How do we know? We can practice. One full day, if we try to consciously avoid all lies, nothing, nowhere I'm going to lie anywhere, then we sit for Dhyana, we will be able to see the difference. The thing is, we think that Dhyana is for 15 minutes. Actually, whatever response that our body, the speech and the mind, it generates during the 23 hours and 45 minutes, that directly affects the 15 minutes of Dhyana that we do. So it's very important that we discipline our body, mind before we sit for Dhyana. Discipline our body, activities, attitude and responses. So Satyam is the second one. Ahimsā, Satyam. Satyam is not a moral rule. Here it is a technical requirement for Dhyana. If you want Dhyana to be succeed, if you want your Dhyana to succeed, you have to follow Satyam. The third Yama is Aṣṭāṅga. Aṣṭāṅga means non-stealing. Stheyam means stealing, Aṣṭāṅga means non-stealing. Again, this does not only include physical theft. If we desire others' wealth, or if we desire others' fame, if we desire others' desire, not even do things. You need not do things. Only if you do things, it's not called a Stheyam. Even if we desire other person's fame, other person's position, other person's relationships, property, it all comes under Stheyam. Taking bribes in India, whatever, they all come under Stheyam. Taking more than what we actually desire, taking more than what we actually deserve is also called as Stheyam. So why this? Because mentally craving for something what belongs to another person or what is there with another person, it disturbs the mind. It creates agitation. Simple. We think of people who are, there are certain people about whom when we think, the mind immediately agitates. And we think that those persons do not deserve it, or those persons, I should be having it, they're not. You will immediately see the agitation in our mind. With this agitation, we will not be able to meditate. Forget meditation, we will not be even able to sleep. So Aṣṭāṅga is the third important Yama. And agitation is the opposite of Dhyana. The Dhyana is for actually calming the mind. And whatever we are doing will only work on the opposite. The fourth one is Brahmacharya. So Brahmacharya, it must be understood according to one's ashrama. So if for Brahmacharya, I am talking about ashrama Brahmacharya. Ashrama Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha and a sannyasa ashramas, those three ashramas, for people in those three ashramas, Brahmacharyam here means complete celibacy. For a grihastha, it means living a life of dharma. What is living a life of dharma? not being enslaved by bhoga, not being obsessed with pleasure, not being obsessed with constant sensory pleasures. Again, we have to understand our Shastras do not talk about suppression. It only means discipline and right channelization. So, enjoy, but enjoy within the boundaries of dharma. Without this, if we go against it, or if we cross the line of dharma, the mind will be restless. The mind will be extroverted, or if we want to enjoy at all times, then the mind will be always extroverted. It will not be willing to look inward, which is what is needed for dhyana. So, brahmacharyam is the fourth one. So, we had seen Ahimsā, Satyam, Aṣṭāṅga, brahmacharyam. Now, the fifth one is aparigraham. Non-hoarding. Aparigraham means non-hoarding. Is the fifth yama. In other words, not accumulating more than what is necessary. And it is true with everything. Things not possessing excessively. Clothes, articles in house. Our scriptures and our ancestors have always taught us to live simply, think highly. That has worked for them. People, what happened over a period of time, people started thinking living simply is actually, they thought that they are living poor. Simplicity, they mistook themselves to be living in poverty. That's not the case. But aparigraham here means non-hoarding, not accumulating what is necessary. Why? How does this impact dhyana? If we have too many things, the mind becomes distracted. The more possessions we have, it will lead to more maintenance, more worries, more protection, more comparison. So the more things that we have, the more things we need to worry about. And when we have more than what we need, or if we crave for more than what we need also, the mind starts moving towards adharma, which can eventually lead to our fall or decay. So simplicity is not poverty. You have to understand it. So this is the fifth one. So with this 5, yama is over. The five together are called as yama. Ahimsā, Satyam, Aṣṭāṅga, brahmacharyam, aparigraham. So anybody who wants to meditate seriously, anybody who wants to take up dhyana seriously, anybody who wants to be successful in dhyana, they must start here, starting with ahimsa. Without yama, jumping to dhyana is like trying to still the waves, calm the waves. Even while we are continuously generating some storms there. So we are actually not helping ourselves. So that is why Patanjali begins not with dhyana but with how we live. So this is the first step, first limb of Aṣṭāṅga Yoga, Yama. Then the second one is Niyamaha. Niyamaha means, if Yama is don'ts, Niyamaha means do's. These are not the things to be avoided. These are qualities. These are things that must be practiced. Or if we don't have it, it must be consciously cultivated. We have to make an effort and slowly grow into them. Here too, Patanjali gives 5 of them, 5 niyamas. The first one is Saucham. Saucham is purity, cleanliness. Basic level, if we have to understand Saucham means keeping the body clean, showering daily, keeping clothes clean, not clothes rich, clothes clean, and keeping our surroundings clean. This is the basic Saucham. Next step is, of course, cleaning the mind. But even before we clean the mind, one must cleanse things around us. The question is, how can one clean the mind if the body and surroundings are not clean in the first place? External cleanliness may look trivial. Some people may say, externally I'm okay with anything that is unclean or dirty around me. So I'm more concerned about my mind. It doesn't work that way. External cleanliness has got a direct psychological impact on the mind. Disorder outside will create disorder inside. And in a neglected environment, a dirty environment, it will constantly agitate the mind. The mind will not be calm. So Saucham is not only external cleanliness, but it also includes internal cleanliness. Internal cleanliness means purity of thought, purity of intentions. Not purity of words, purity of intentions. But Patanjali, when he explains this, he talks about external cleanliness first, because again, if our surroundings are not clean, if our body cannot be kept clean, we will not be able to keep our mind clean. Inner purity then becomes only philosophical. So Saucham is the first niyama. The second one is Santoshaha. Santoshaha here means contentment. Contentment is a very important sadhana. Being contented with whatever we have, what we possess, about our possessions, spouse, in-laws, house, money, children, position, wealth, fame. Being contented with what we have. Santoshaha also means not comparing ourselves with others. How could that person have this much? We are not in a position to have this. So that is also against Santosha. And what I've observed here is very interesting. Almost every one of us, we want to be called as middle class. Whether we live in a single bedroom apartment or a large independent house or villa, we say we are all middle class. Why? Because we are not truly content with what we have. Everyone wants to believe that they deserve more. The mind is always looking upwards. The mind is not looking at what it has already. Again, Santosha doesn't mean lack of ambition. Being contented is not laziness. Contentment is acceptance of prarabdha. Contentment is basically an acceptance state. Prarabdha has given me this. I am happy to take it as what it is while doing my duty. I might still do actions. I am not stopping myself from doing actions that may result in positive outcome, negative outcome. Whatever the outcome be, I am contented. I am satisfied. So contentment is an important inner maturity. Again, without santosha, dhyana will only become, we'll do dhyana, but in the dhyana we'll be using it as a sakama dhyana to achieve more, to gain more, for fulfilling more desires, rather than using it for jnana, moksha. So, santosha, contentment, that is the second one. Saucham, santosha. The third one is tapaha. Tapaha means discipline, austerity. People misunderstand, not misunderstand, but often when we say tapas, we understand it as vrata, which is okay. Fasting, especially fasting, we say. We have this Ekadasi Vrata, Chaturthi Vrata, Sashti Vrata. People have Guruvara Vrata, Somavara Vrata. So this is called as Vrata. Fasting is done, okay. Fasting must be done with discrimination. In the sense, we will have to look at the age, the body condition, and the kind of physical work we do. Depending on that, we'll have to take up vrata or do tapas. Tapas does not mean torturing the body. That is a misunderstanding. But at the same time, tapasa means voluntary putting the body in discomfort. To some amount of discomfort, which we can take. Slowly we'll have to build that, we'll have to increase the discomfort so that our body can take more and more. But to start with, it should not be torturing the body. So consciously accepting a certain inconvenience. Why do we do that? So that to prevent addiction to a certain comfort, certain bhoga, to a certain pleasure. Why do people do this Sabarimala Vrata for 48 days or whatever? They sleep on the floor so that they don't get addicted to always sleeping on the bed. They don't wear slippers so that they don't get addicted to always some cushions under their legs. It's all vrata to ensure that the body doesn't get addicted to comforts and pleasures. Fasting is also one way. Fasting is also one form. Other forms is vrata, we can say controlling speech. Some people do mauna vrata. That's also another form of this. As I said, limiting certain pleasures. Certain days we don't do certain things. We don't eat certain things. Or certain days we don't eat outside. It's all self-imposed disciplines. Why? The idea is simple. The mind should not become a slave to that comfort or that pleasure. That is called as tapas. Tapas is a very important sadhana. If you see Swami Omkarananda's daily things on tapas itself, this has been coming for the last 20 days, 25 days. The importance of tapas. 3 things that are important for a grihastha ashrama person for spiritual upliftment. One is yajnam, dhanam, tapas. Okay. So that is tapas, third one. The fourth one is swadhyayam. Swadhyayam means study of shastra. Study of shastra today with mobile phones, YouTube, social media, OTT, we have lost the habit of reading. Reading good books is it's actually a very powerful sadhana. Good books. As they say, sometimes they say, what you cannot learn through experience, you will be able to get it through a good book. And that is the power of swadhyaya. But when we say swadhyaya here, it does not mean reading anything. It means reading shastra. Value-based books which are uplifting. Things like any particular mandargal, Hindu dharma, Deivathin Kural. These are not ordinary books. Those books compress generations of wisdom. And it is made easy accessible for us. By actually focused reading for those even 10 pages, it will create a big change in us. Much more than what life's experiences can do. Sometimes we say, I will face the world and learn through that. We will not have enough time. We can go through millions of births and still will not be able to understand people. These books can help us with that. Reading slowly but with a purpose. It will refine our intellect. It will refine our mind. And the mind and intellect will be now ready for higher inquiry rather than trying to understand mundane things of the world. So Swadhyayam. The final one, the fifth one is Ishvara Pranidhanam. Ishvara Pranidhanam means puja, prayers, parayana. Actually, Ishvara Pranidhanam means surrendering to Ishvara. However busy one must be, we must mandatorily put some time for Ishvara, give some time for Ishvara. Every day it is a must. It's like I cannot go without having lunch, or at least I need to have one meal of a day. So similarly, at least I need to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes of my time for Ishvara. It need not be elaborate. It need not be Sodasha Upachara Puja. Whatever we have learned from our elders through the family tradition, if we follow that, it's fine. But some time must be given. In fact, we can even do this way. Why immediately after waking up, remembering Ishvara Smaranam. Before going to bed, so Ishvara Smaranam, how we can force ourselves to do, we'll have to keep some slokas to start with, the day. Maybe we can start with Vakradunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha. Or when we get up, we have the sloka for Bhuma Devi, or we can say Yasya vo nama rupabhyam yadevi sarvamangalam tayo samsmarnat pumsam sarvato jayamangalam. Or we say in the night Karanacharana Kritam va Kayajam Karmajam va, before going to bed. It's must. And in between also we'll have to give time for some sloka, some puja, some parayanam, some japa. So this is Ishvara Pranidhanam is important. Some people, when they think when they come to yoga, and what happens is it's purely technical skill, as in body technique, breathing technique, concentration technique. They forget about Ishvara Bhakti together. That is not Patanjali's yoga. Patanjali's yoga has explicitly included Ishvara Pranidhana as a niyama, as a must do. So yoga without Ishvara has already deviated from the original teaching. So yoga must include Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana, all these 10 months are not to be followed only during the time of Dhyana, but must be followed throughout the day. So the first 2 steps of Aṣṭāṅga Yoga, just to recap: Yama and Niyama. Yama, Ahimsā, Satyam, Aṣṭēyam, Brahmacharyam, Aparigraham. Niyama, we had Saucham, Santosham, Tapaha, Swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhanam. We can call these 10 as our 10 commandments. The 10 sadhanas, they put together, they become the 2 foundational steps for Dhyana. So Patanjali says our life, they should begin with these 10 sadhanas. If we want contentment, happiness, which is moksha, we must be having the ability to control our mind. And for us to control our mind, we must start here. And all these 10 are not abstract ideas, they are not very difficult. These are normal activities which we express through our body or speech or mind. And only when the body, speech, senses, mind are aligned at this level, if we are able to only follow these things, only then we will be able to do the next steps of Patanjali's Aṣṭāṅga Yoga, which is asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and others. So this is Yama and Niyama, the first 2 steps of Patanjali's yoga, Aṣṭāṅga Yoga. The 3rd step to 8th step, we will see it in the next class. Any questions or comments? Okay. If not, we'll see again in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.